We're going to get a bee education today, I think. And we're talking about Abeez honey. It's a business I'm not familiar with. I'm very interested in what they have to say today. And please welcome to Sack Lunch Lectures, Riley Beck.
All right, so as he mentioned, our business is Abeez Honey. Our daughter's name is Abby, but it's actually A-B-E-E-Z Honey. So everyone asks us how we're going to name our next business. You know, now we have a son, and everyone's worried how we're going to be fair. We started just a couple of years ago. I went to the library and I picked up a book. Actually, sorry. Let me grab this. Picked up this book, Beekeeping for Dummies, and I was interested and got reading it, and I thought that sounds like a lot of fun. So I got some other books, beekeeping, backyard beekeeping, things like that. And you know, if you want to get this book, you can just go across the street to the library there. They have it. So, anyways, now anytime I go to the library, my wife I have two checkouts. I have to check out with her if it's all right if I get the book, and then I have to also check it out at the library. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. I helped a gentleman that lived down the street a little bit when I was young, but I didn't learn a lot about it. I was just mostly lifting a few boxes and helping out here and there with him. And so what I wanted to do today is kind of explain how you can keep a beehive in your own backyard. It's actually getting to be quite a popular thing here in Spanish Fork and in other areas. I know Provo, they just passed an ordinance where they're allowing beekeepers now. I think there were a lot there before, but now it's a lot more legal, I guess. So I kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about the bees, how bees live, and explain to you kind of the equipment you'd need to get started with that. So up here I have a bee box. It's yellow. You can paint them yellow, white. I have light blue. I paint them all kinds of different colors. They don't really care, but so. A couple of things. This is a frame. You'll buy 10 of these. You'll stick them in the box, and this is just plastic. And what those bees do is they'll draw it out in wax. Let me get one that they've started drawing out. So after a while, your frame will start to look like this, and in each of these little cells is where that queen lays her eggs, and the queen in the hive, you only have one queen bee per hive, and that is basically her only job, is to lay eggs. And sometimes she'll lay upwards of 2,000, even 2,500 eggs a day if you have a good queen in there. And basically, the more bees, the more eggs she lays, the more bees you have, and the more honey she's going to bring in. So you want a good queen. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like cattle. They actually artificially inseminate these queens. It's crazy, the queen bee production. So anyways, you can order queens and start a new hive basically with having a queen and then just having a couple of pounds of bees. So essentially, let me grab out another hive and kind of show you how they live inside of this box. Now these are heavy. I'll let some of you hold this afterwards. But this is full of honey, most of it. But right down here in the middle, it's open, and that's where she would lay eggs. So those bees in the middle of winter, they're going to sit right here in the middle, kind of in a ball, and they'll sit and shiver and keep each other warm. About 92 degrees is what they actually keep it inside of that hive. So essentially, they kind of hibernate for the winter until the spring comes, the sun comes out, and they start having some food that they can start bringing in. And the whole purpose of the honey is what they eat all winter long. So what they're working on all summer long is to build up enough honey that they can live throughout the winter. And we as a beekeeper want to leave, here in Utah, leave 60 to 70 pounds of honey per hive, so that those bees have enough honey to live on. The queen will still lay a few eggs, but they're, you know, like that big ball of bees is going to be in there, and they can keep a few eggs warm, and she'll keep laying a little bit in the winter. But as soon as spring hits and there's blossoms and there's a lot of food coming in, she'll start laying like crazy and just laying eggs. And like I said, she doesn't even feed herself. These other bees will feed her, and that's all she does is lay eggs. Now, 99% of the bees in the hive are going to be female as well, but their reproductive organs aren't established, or the doctor could explain it better probably than I could. But they don't have the reproductive organs all the way developed like a queen does. But so all the bees in the hive, like I said, 99% of them are going to be a female worker bee. And then you'll have like a couple of percent of them will be drones, which are the male bees. And the male bees are just basically to mate with the queen. They don't go out and work or do anything. They just will mate with the queen to allow her to lay those eggs. So to get into it, to start getting into a hobby or to the beekeeping, you need to buy your equipment. You'll have to buy a couple of boxes. You'll have to buy the frames that go in the boxes. Another thing is a feeder, and we're going to offer a hobby kit. We're offering a hobby kit this spring. I think it's $179 to get it started. It's a couple boxes full of frames like this. Again, they won't be filled out like this. The bees will do that themselves, and then they'll start packing in the honey. And you usually bring in the honey once a year, about August, maybe early September. And what you do there is you get a hot knife or something to take off this. There's a wax capping on here, and you take off that capping and you stick it in an extractor. You stick these frames in an extractor, and it's going to spin around really fast. Spin these around, and it basically throws the honey out of those cells onto the wall of that big extractor, and it drains to the bottom, and then you just have a spigot, open it up, and there's your honey. Speaking of the health with honey, that's why a lot of people get into hobby beekeeping or just have a couple of hives in their backyard. Some doctors will recommend it, and a lot of people really believe that honey has a lot of health things. One of the best things is for allergies, because within a couple of miles, if you have a hive in your backyard, those bees are going to be picking up the trees, the pollen, the flowers, and those types of things that you may have allergies to, and you're going to get low doses of pollen, not enough to really set you off into allergies, but low doses of pollen that's going to build up an immunity. So that's why a lot of people believe in the local honey, and that's where we sell most of it. Luckily around here is people that really want the local honey. So for people that are interested, you can contact us. It's again, you can look on the internet. It's abeezhoney.com, ABEEZ honey.com, and then my phone number is 801-471-6910. Again, we're a family-owned business. My wife Amy helps me, and my brother Mike, and my dad owns a few hives with me, and we just really enjoy doing what we do. So, are there any questions that Rod?
How much honey can you get out of a hive?
Okay, the question is how much honey can we get out of a hive? The first year you're not going to get as much because they're going to be spending a lot of energy building up that wax. Probably 20 pounds the first year around this area, and it depends on the nectar flow too, on where you have your hive and what kind of flowers are available. Utah's not the best place because there's not as much clover and things like that as some other places. But the second year, you're probably looking about 40 to 50 pounds of honey per hive per year. And that's what you can take, because you're also always going to leave 60 to 70 pounds in that hive. So, about 50 pounds of honey is what you can expect from a hive around this area per year.
What's the best way to store it? In glass, or like I've seen it in metal cans, but then you get kind of a metal taste?
Yeah, the best way to store honey probably wouldn't be in a metal container, but a glass container, and then not in the sunlight. In a dark place, room temperature is usually a pretty good place to store honey. So, yeah. Honey weighs a little bit more than water. A gallon of honey will weigh about 12 pounds, whereas water only weighs about 8 pounds. And so, when you pick up a 5-gallon bucket of honey, you're lifting a little bit more than what you'd expect with a 5-gallon bucket of water. So I hope.
Sell this to local stores or something?
Yeah, we sell the honey locally. A lot of people just come to our house and buy it. And we haven't really marketed it too much yet. We have a lot of it just sitting in 5-gallon buckets, and the beauty of it is it lasts forever. So we're not in a huge hurry to sell it. We just haven't had time to yet.
What other kind of equipment do you need to get started learning just the hives?
Other equipment that you need to get started. First, reading up on it. You're going to need a hive tool, one of these. And this allows you, when those bees work on this, they glue the frames down with what's called propolis. And to get those, I can lift them up easy right now because there's no bees in it, but you need that to kind of pry it open. You're going to need a bee suit. Rarely, I get stung if I have hundreds of hives, and I might get stung a little bit here and there, but working on a garden hive, you don't have to worry about it much at all. You're going to have a bee suit on, but what you'll do is you use a bee smoker, and what the bee smoker does is the theory on it is that it makes the bees think that there's going to be a fire when you puff smoke into their hive, and then they go inside and they'll engorge on some of the honey that they have, and then they're just kind of fat and happy, and they don't really care what's going on with your hive. So that's what you do when you're going to steal the honey, is you smoke it, or to check on them, you smoke them a little bit and make them fat and happy, and then you rob them. That's what we call it, robbing the honey. So we you end up really liking bees a lot, and you feel bad when someone's going to smash a bee and when they hate them, because you're like, oh, that's going to give us honey, or that's pollinating trees. That's the other benefit of having a hive if you have a garden or something, is the pollination. Sometimes I've seen pictures of mostly people in other countries where they're up with a paintbrush pollinating their fruit trees or something, going from bloom to blossom to blossom. The bees do that for you, and that's where that's a really big part of our commercial business, is the pollination. Our hives are down in California right now pollinating almond trees, and then they'll send them back, and then we'll pollinate orchards out here in Santa Quin and places around here. So, and usually the growers pay us to place them in their orchards. Any other questions? And so to finish answering that question, you want a smoker, a bee suit. You're going to have a hat with a veil to cover your face, and so the bees won't sting you. There's not much to worry about, but you could get stung, if you didn't have this equipment. But really, we have a hive out in our garden. Not right now because it's down in California, but when it comes back, we put one in our garden, and our 2-year-old daughter plays right by the hive, and the bees really don't bother anybody. A lot of people I think most people get stung by wasps and hornets, and the honeybee, to know if you're getting stung by a honeybee, there will be a stinger left in you. And I usually ask people, well, did it leave a stinger? No. Well, chances are you really didn't get stung by a honeybee. And when you do get stung, just a little tip here, you just flick it off with a credit card or your fingernail versus pinching it, because it has a little poison sac on the end of that sting. And so you just kind of flick it off and go from there. So, little tip. Better not take up too much time. We're probably going over here. So anyways, yeah, if anyone that's interested, you can give me a call at 801-471-6910 or look us up at abeezhoney.com. Thank you.